Hello and welcome to Audionautic Deep Space Network, episode 152. This is the Independent Musician's Guide to Production and Promotion. And this week, we're talking about some changes or potential hopeful changes we can see in the streaming landscape. We've also got something new that Eon Lake's got that we'll talk about briefly. We'll cover it more in the future, but I think it'll be an interesting thing to start with. And then in the round robin, we've got a very interesting topic about hardware, which actually fits well, Eon Lake. Let's stop teasing. With me today is Eon Lake. And Eon Lake, what have you got, my friend? Hello.
Yeah, something came in the post today. It's one of these little things that seem to be quite popular at the moment.
Lovely.
Definitely for Mike.
Yeah. Where's Mike when you need him?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know at least one of our friends would approve. Yeah, I've been looking into this, and I've been wondering if it's a good or bad idea, particularly when I saw one at a pretty good price secondhand. And
oh, you got that one used?
Yeah, and I don't know. You know how we talk about limitations. I mean, limitations are the main criticisms leveled at this particular little piece of hardware, and I think for what it's intended for, like the note application, almost starting tracks to finish later in your studio, it actually fits a use case for me. I'm often away from home. I'm often wanting to do stuff. I found Note to be very useful for starting ideas that I can then carry on at home. So I thought I'd give it a try, and I would believe the people who have said that that it's quite an inspiring way of working because everything's hands-on. There's no screen. You're just making things quickly, and that the limitations stop you from being distracted. There's not much to do apart from actually write music, which, you know, it sounds like one of those good limitations to me, but we'll see. It's going back on eBay if I'm not impressed.
That's harsh, man. You're ready. So, Curtis just dropped. Interesting, because he's the one that's live streaming, so I don't know how that works. Anyways, that's an odd one, but it still says we're live, so it looks like it. Chat, let us know if we're still live. Otherwise, we'll just keep talking and droning on about Ableton Move. So, what are your hopes with it? What are you looking like? What in your workflow are you hoping to incorporate it into, or where?
I'm hoping that this will spell a bit of increased productivity, of just making more sketches quickly that can be fleshed out later, and them being more music based than sound based. You know how sometimes you can be doing music that's or working on stuff that's all vibe, all atmosphere, and not a lot else, and that's quite difficult on something like that. And I still will be doing experiments in the studio to start tracks differently, but this is to try and push me in a direction of, right, well, it's going to have to be musical, and you're going to have to make it interesting, you know, with limited things here to play with, you know.
Yeah, I get that. I was watching DiBiase, the beatmaker. He's been making some really cool stuff. He's got this slicing trick he does on the Move to like use it as a sampler, where you may want to watch some of his latest live streams, because that could be really cool. He's like using it as a using it for chops in a really interesting way. So it kind of like bypassing some of the limitations that it would have in using it.
Yeah, I was
stuff, so that might be something.
Yeah,
you know,
you
may want to look
the multi-polyphony on the sampler would let you sort of replicate additional tracks if you bounce down onto the sampler or record in from external stuff like the SP1 or something like that.
Yeah. It could be really cool. And then the other cool thing, right, with the Move is that since you use Ableton, it would be somewhat of a one-to-one conversion. Like if you start it portable on the Move, when you connect it, it does then kind of convert to, because it's all stock plugins, right? So it's just opens the project, and then you. The only
limitation with it is there's no moving back to the Move once you've taken it onto your DAW. I mean, you could continue maybe to edit the version that you've got on it, but
but so the changes you make in DAW afterwards can't go back, even if it's still with all stock plugins and stuff. It doesn't seem like that's a thing.
I don't think so, but I only got it today. But
have you used it yet? I know you've like
got it. Yeah, okay. A little bit on it. It was terrible, but you know.
It was terrible using it, or it was terrible the track result?
I was editing one of their example arrangements, and yeah, I mean, I hate the arrangement in the first place, so it wasn't really a good idea.
Let me bring Curtis
Oh,
back.
man.
Curtis, if you're good, give me a thumbs up. I'll bring you back in. Yeah, okay. There he is.
Hi.
Internet dropped. It's all right, man. Let me while you take that sip, I'm gonna mute you because you're gonna make we're not at 1,000 for your thing where you won't drink tea, apparently. He's got metrics for requirements. But I want to say hello to Asef Stripe, one of our patrons, and also hello to where is it? Little Bro Games, what's going on? And Smiling Errors. Welcome to all. Let us know in the chat what you've been up to. If you've got any new gear, I don't have anything new at the moment. I've just been trying to sample more and more. I'm hoping, Eon Lake, I'm going to put you on the spot here on live stream, that you can maybe demo it for us at some point, whether you like it or not, before you get rid of it. Show us kind of how you've been getting on, the honest thoughts, right? Like your actual honest thoughts on it.
Well, I'll be happy to express an opinion, you know that. But yeah,
I don't doubt that.
Why not?
I don't doubt that. Also want to say hello. Not hello. I'm sorry. Little Bro started with live. I think moving up from GarageBand.
It's the right way to go. Definitely the right direction. Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe with
It's
some
too
move.
early this week too.
I wonder where he got that influence from.
Oh, we got to hold on. We got to zoom in on the cat cam real quick.
Cat cow.
And that's actually a really nice transition, because also with me today is Curtis. What's going on?
I am here, and let's just hope that the internet doesn't die again.
Twice so far.
I'm not gonna lie, I was shocked we stayed live, because Curtis is the one right now that hits start stream. That's why sometimes we just start and we're like, what? Because he doesn't give a countdown all the time. We are a very professional operation.
Sometimes I forget. Yeah.
He gets too excited. He's like, red button, woo, and just hits it and forgets to go 5, 4, 3. But we make it work. But anyways, I was shocked you dropped off. It dropped you, and then we're still live. I was like, chat, let us know. And chat's like, yep, still live. So we just droned about the Ableton Move, which is cool. So what have you been up to besides your internet dropping?
What have I been doing? I've got a gig coming up in a couple of Saturdays, and so I've been practicing that, and I've just been kind of running that through and through and through. I've taken a track. I've got a 15-minute set, right? So instead of building a 15-minute set, I've taken one track and extended it for 15 minutes, which is a great
easy way.
like, yeah, it's kind of like you know, I build all these templates and I build all these kind of ways, right? And then my limitation is 16 channels for the track, right? And with the long game always being that this is what the track is in Ableton as the clips and as the triggers, and then you just whack some hardware on top, right? That's always been the long game. So that's kind of fulfilling that particular idea. So that's where we're at. I'm keeping it small because I'm also curating for a couple of others. I'm being a backup. What's the phrase? I'm not a backup instrumentalist, but I'm playing with other people essentially. And so I've also got their project files, and I've also got their triggers and their clips while they do their own thing as well. So keeping it simple, just keeping the monologue and the push to, and
I was not expecting monologue. You have such a strange love-hate relationship with that monologue. One week you're like, I absolutely hate it. And then the next week you're like, I'm bringing it to a live show.
Totally. Yeah. And that's kind of, it's a continuous journey with me. Like it's, it came out here for a while, but I just couldn't I just couldn't let it go. And like, the more I play with it, it takes up a lot of real estate, right? Because it's all on a pedal board, so it takes up a lot of real estate. But with that real estate, you've effectively got two instruments in there, because you've got the audio and you've got the patches, and you've got the patches you create, but then you've got 5-pin MIDI, and so you can then use that with say Vital or only VST that ever needs to exist according to Mike Drift. And you can make that, and you can create on the fly. And so it's back on the pedal board, so we're going to see what happens with it essentially.
Nice.
So that's what I've been doing. What you been doing,
bro? What little time I can get making music, just making stuff with the tracker, and then prepping for that SP live set I'm building. I did my last live stream. I walked through like how I'm building the tracks and stuff, because like we've been talking about, I'm taking those stems and like converting it into sample chops and all that. I'm trying to find a way to perform more on the SP, right? Like I'd love to just do patterns and then play chromatic things on top of it, but I make multiple banks for any track I'm working on. So most often, like I can't make a set out of one project because there's only maybe 2 or 3 tracks where I need, 5, 8, 10, whatever. So I was like figuring out ways to work around that, but I think I got it. And then I'm trying, this is for a YouTube video. So I'm trying to think of places I could film it. I'd like to film it out like in nature or something, like really something that looks cool. I have a few ideas, but it's like so hard to get anywhere right now, with a toddler and all that. So I'm like, I'm trying to figure it out. So we'll see. I might have to just do it in the backyard or something, but
I like the sound of that. Like, I like that. Like,
I have this image of like this spot. Like, there's a spot I know, but it's in LA, which is pretty far. And I'm like, oh, if I could just get there, like, it would be perfect. But I don't think it's meant to be right now.
All right. It's always.
What tracker are you using?
What's that, Eon? Like,
what tracker are you using?
It's not plugged in at the moment.
Oh, that.
Yeah, the Polyan Tracker Plus.
I hated mine. I've got to sell it.
You hated the tracker?
Yeah, I've got one. It's in its box, ready to be shipped to somebody.
Tracker or Tracker Plus?
Tracker.
Oh, see, the Tracker Plus adds the synths from Polyan Synth.
I don't care.
Dude, I love it, man. It's so much fun. I've been having so much fun with that.
Still have all the vertical numbers.
You can do vertical or horizontal.
Yeah, you could do that on the other one, but
yeah. It's still a tracker, but it's so much fun. I thought you'd love it with the per step parameters and all the automation and stuff. What about it didn't vibe with you?
I just got nowhere with it. I just didn't like it. I don't know.
All right.
It just seemed like a painful way of making music.
Really? I wonder, were you doing live recording or were you programming per step?
Bit of both, depending on whether I could play it or not.
Yeah. Well, one thing that's really cool, Eon, like, is it's got 8 MIDI channels and then multi USB audio, so you can use it as
the size of it. I like the fact that it could be USB powered. But I didn't enjoy making music on it at all.
Fair enough. I've been really digging it. Like I really like making music on it. The only thing I wish is that just coming from the SP, I wish it had more effects. Like the SP has all those effects for resampling and stuff. But there's some good ones on there. But I wish there was like a couple more.
You've got pedal board of pedals, no? Could you run it like analog?
Oh yeah, I could run out and back in or something like that. But my whole thing right now is like as minimal as I can go. So like one box. So the more pedals and all that type of stuff you add to it, it's just more. I could even use the SP since like send sounds into the SP, send it back in with the effects and stuff. But again, I'm trying, like, I don't know why I'm on this thing. I just like absolutely refuse to rebuild the Dallas desk. And I'm just using individual pieces of gear. And that's like my thing right now. It's just so much easier because I can just put one on the desk and that's all I have to like laser focus on. And I don't have to worry about trying to remember different settings and things like that.
I get that, and you can actually just get down to playing as opposed to just essentially engineering cabling. Like I spend a lot of time just kind of tinkering and putting cables in and out and rerouting things, and so I can imagine you actually, in the little time that you have, that you actually just get down and play stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I get that.
I gotta say, I'm a little shocked Eon like didn't like the tracker workflow. I thought you'd take to trackers with the like all the automation you can do, just trackers in general, not just that tracker specifically. But
I don't know what it is. It just didn't.
But again, you're also someone that never vibed with the MPC, so
true. Yeah, I mean, of all of those things, the SP404 is a lot easier for me to make sounds and music and patterns and stuff.
I get that. I mean, if I could only choose one piece of gear, it'd be the SP, like, to make music on or something like that. That doesn't change, but I get you. I just thought with all the like parameter things you can do and
I love the fact you can parameter lock, but I prefer doing it on an electron system,
which is based off of trackers, which is just funny to me that
I don't know, it's just something about the numbers and stuff.
All right. Sorry, this is one of the few times where like a spreadsheet does not make me go and just like because anytime Curtis is a lover of spreadsheets. Curtis makes spreadsheets for it will be like, let's plan this new thing, and then I wake up because we got different time zones, and I wake up to a text that's like, made a spreadsheet, and I'm like, oh my god, I see a spreadsheet, my eyes glaze over. My eyes just glaze over, not from any spreadsheet, like it's one of those things. But with this one, I'm like, ooh, but I can program this and do that. So yeah.
So all right, what you're saying is if I formalized our entrepreneurship into something that looked like a tracker, I'd get you on board quick.
If you could do per step automation to the formalization, then yes. All
right, there's a challenge.
There we go.
Right there's a
now
challenge
now you know. Well, gentlemen, anything else before we get into our first topic? I do want to mention hello to one of our other patrons, Shady Rich, in the chat. How's it going? What you been up to? I think Shady's got some new releases coming up. I think I saw, but yeah,
there's been a recent one, and there's more coming. Yeah,
it's
nice.
Good.
Well,
a lot of people are releasing. You see, a lot of people are doing live. A lot more people are doing live things. A lot of people are releasing. It's a good time of the year to be part of the community. It's lovely.
Yeah.
Should we sidle on over?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's move on from there. Curtis, you brought this to the table. I haven't had much time to even look at it. So you got Tune.fm. What's going on with this?
Well, this is a new streaming platform, or at least a newly kind of established streaming platform, which has been brought to the limelight, so to speak, because in the week, Snoop Doggy Dog, that famous IDM producer, decided that he was going to take all of his music off of Spotify. And he said something that I'm not going to repeat on air, but the quote I can put in the link underneath, where basically he's no longer.
He said, "I'm not going to have adult relations with Spotify anymore."
Yeah, that one. That's a great way of putting it. I like that. Thank you, Yannick. He said, and he's taken all of his music down off of Spotify, Tidal, Apple Music, etc., 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 and he's signed exclusively with Tune FM, which is, in its own words, is a decentralized music streaming platform built on Web3 technology, which is a lot of buzzwords right there. A lot of keywords. And it says a lot and says nothing at all at the same time.
Web3. What is that a standard that somebody's written? No, it isn't. It's marketing. But yeah,
it's marketing. It is marketing. But
I was no AI was mentioned. You could have hit all the, you could have got the bingo in one go with it. Decentralized AI Web3.
That was one of my takeaways, actually. It definitely looks like it needs more AI, because how are you going to sell it without AI?
And what about NFTs? We're just going to forget those ever existed? Remember those?
Spent a long time making NFTs for a startup, and it went absolutely nowhere. I always look at it fondly. Anyway, but it's hold your horses somewhat, because NFTs do actually.
Okay. Okay, then I could rest easy.
I do like the word fungible, though.
Yeah, fungible is a great word.
Still fond of that. Yeah.
Flanimal.
Didn't Snoop say something recently about how little he got paid from Spotify or something?
Yeah. Well, this is what that is. That was a
This is like the follow on from it. Okay. Yeah.
So essentially, because he's probably not short of a bob or two. But he was saying that basically he wasn't making any money off Spotify, or for the amount of time, effort, and energy that everything went into it, he just didn't see an ROI, didn't see a return on investment.
I wonder how much the label saw before he saw. You know what I mean? Because he's probably got label splits and deals and stuff.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. But essentially, what this platform does is supposedly use whatever Web3 technology is to create a more equitable platform where artists are directly paid by the listener. So they cut out the middleman. There's no splits. There's no, there's no royalty fees or anything like that. If the idea supposedly is that if you are listening, you are directly giving money to the artist itself. That's the idea. And there are a few hooks to this, which we'll get into. But on the face of it, that sounds pretty decent, right?
Yeah, because it's kind of like, well, I mean, it's kind of like what I think somebody on ADSN had said before, right? Where if you're streamed, let me make sure I'm getting this right. If someone streams you, Curtis, on Tune.fm or whatever, you get the royalties of that, or the rather than it's a split because of their paid tier or whatever, then you get a small percentage. You get a larger chunk of this because they streamed you.
Yes, that's the idea. And then, as well as that, you have other things, and in a similar vein to Spotify, you can put up NFTs, you can put up merchandise, you can sell things like VIP access to things. It's like a tipping platform directly. The idea is that you can put these things up and you can pay them directly. That's the idea.
I just want to ask, one thing came to mind, and I don't know if you probably read, they must explain it, but Smiling Ears asked this, and I was going to wait to ask it, but since he asked it, pay per listen or division of a subscription?
It's a good question. It's a really good question. And it looks like
we can move into it if need be, but
it looks like as in short, we can get to. I don't want to go into the big maths. I did the maths, but I don't want to get into it right now. But essentially, pay per listen, and it looks fairly accurate.
Interesting.
There are a few kind of hang-ups to this, which are really significant and really important.
Yeah.
And one of the biggest things about this is that it's based on cryptocurrency, and it's based on so it's based on what they call JAM tokens, JAM tokens, essentially.
So is it their own cryptocurrency then?
It's their
Hands
own...
up if you've got a crypto wallet. Okay.
You got a jam? He's got a jam.
I don't have any jam. But yeah. It obviously there's already a gateway here, right? There's already a gateway here, because if you don't have anything to do with crypto, or you don't want anything to do with crypto, getting into crypto is not, well, it's not as hard as it used to be, but it's still kind of a convoluted kind of situation. There's already a barrier to entry in that point. You could go with the notion of, well, with the fact that crypto is becoming more widespread and ever more accessible, this is kind of ahead of its time in some. You could make that argument. At the same time, it's a blockchain based model, and it's something that even the word blockchain is very buzzwordy, and a lot of people are turned off by that in that first instance. So that is
divisive,
yeah, it's an interesting barrier to entry. And it's a bold move. To base it on the blockchain, because, as we all know, cryptocurrency is incredibly volatile. If anyone has seen or pays attention to what's been going on specifically in the last, say, kind of 3 or 4 months or so, crypto has just been going up and down, generally speaking. And these are viable cryptos, which have been, this is going to sound like a crypto podcast soon enough, but you
brought it to the table. You're trying to move us over to crypto, huh?
It's where the money.
It's a bigger niche. We got to move over there.
In short, without getting too much into the weeds of it, JAM token is, it's nothing right now. It's got no faith. And that it's worth very, very little. And that is even more volatile than a cryptocurrency that's established, like Ethereum or Bitcoin or something like that, for example. I'll stop there. I
just want to clarify. So it's a completely new cryptocurrency, right? It's not. Yeah. Okay.
It's one that they've created.
Yep.
Now, supposedly, currently, a JAM token is still worth more than or the amount that you get per stream is still worth more in real dollar currency once you do the conversion than you'd get in a Spotify stream. That's in theory. And it's an internal economy. So consumers, when they sign up to the platform, get a certain amount of JAM tokens, which then they can use to tip the artist, which they pay, and they are generating tokens essentially as they play also. So you've got those different levels of direct payments, again, in theory, as it goes.
So artists can get tips as well.
Yeah, so you can receive tips, but also you can put things up for sale, essentially exclusive items, and you can have.
Do we have to wear the tassels?
I mean, I am wearing the tassels.
Yeah, same here, obviously. That's
So,
interesting. It's kind of like a storefront as well as a streaming platform as well. That does kind of.
So I just want to go back to one thing though. But sorry, Ian. Like, were you saying something else?
No, just saying that helps probably. But carry on. Dude.
I just wanted to go back to the idea. So compared to streaming, though, it sounds like it's not just a subscription, right? For the consumer, it's a subscription. But then if you run out of tokens by listening to an artist a lot or something, let's say, that just correct me if I'm getting this right, and maybe I'm mishearing it. But like per month, it sounds like you would have an amount of these jams or whatever. So if you use them up, then you'd have to get more, right? Unlike on a streaming platform, you pay, what is it now, $15, and you can listen to whatever you want.
So it's kind of unmetered in that regard. You pay once and listen as much as you want.
Yeah.
Is that correct, or am I mishearing it?
Somewhat. So listeners earn jam tokens by engaging with the platform. So by the very fact of being on the platform and listening, you are generating your own tokens for yourself. And I suppose in that sense, it's a gamification of listening. So there's a reward for staying on the platform longer. And the more you listen, the more you engage, the more money or more tokens you get in that regard, which you can then go and give to the artist itself, which is quite an interesting little thing.
I wonder how that plays into the value of the jams if they keep generating more just by interactivity.
Well, yes, there would be a lack of scarcity. That is true. I suppose as it goes up, you'd have to kind of put that in place and kind of look at how that works.
Yeah.
It's interesting, and it's interesting, and I imagine it's ongoing. But the thing about the fact that it's on the blockchain is that
getting fancy with your pronunciations, huh?
Blockchain is that it's completely transparent. So you can go and you can have a look at the ledgers and you can know everything that's going down.
Yeah, that's true. That's fair. Because there's no real transparency with streaming, right?
Exactly.
The streaming companies tell us how much we were listened to, and they also hold the amounts or the wallets that they pay. So yeah, that is one nice thing. I guess that's a benefit of being blockchain only. It would be that. Sounds like, boy, it'd be nice if they didn't just do the crypto, if it was like, monthly subscription, kind of like if we could get a halfway between this and Spotify, where it's like you pay a monthly fee and then who you listen to gets a percentage based on how often you listen to them or something of that monthly fee. I always thought that would be a cool way to do it, right? And this is almost that, but then there's this whole blockchain crypto facet on top of that. So yeah,
you have to kind of go with. And you have to kind of, it's going with a dream, right? It's going with a dream that the blockchain and cryptocurrency is the currency of the future. And while this is a foreign concept to some people, in the future generations, this will be just second nature, and everyone will have a crypto wallet in the same way that, we have a wallet today. So there is a certain amount of dreaming involved. But it's coming at the right time with everything that's going on in the United States with the reserve and the creation of the crypto reserve there.
Right, yeah.
It seems to be solidifying that notion that that's kind of the way the world is going, which is encouraging in that sense.
Or at least an option of like a new, a more commonplace option of it.
Yeah. But it does seem, again, like beneficial on both sides, right? So it's not like you don't have to go and buy more tokens because that would be a disincentive. You gain tokens, which is an incentive to stay on, which means that you can spend those tokens and you can give those tokens to who you want, with the idea that people in this small little niche thing would want to support an independent musician. So they would put it where they decide where it goes, and there would be no middleman to cut through. So it does sound like a decent model, even if
one interesting thing I was going to mention though that Smiling Ears puts up, just with how volatile crypto can be. Paying with crypto seems fine, but being paid by it with the question mark there.
It doesn't remove the notion of an unstable paycheck. I mean, us musicians will get an unstable paycheck, I suppose. Listens go up and down depending on playlists.
It's an important point because I mean, my Spotify payouts are absolutely bang on regular. dependable, same amount every time. I can
Well,
rely on it.
I think
I could put my life on it.
well, I think
it's gonna go up and
that's
down, isn't it?
that's the benefit of the blockchain, I suppose, is you can actually
Yeah.
see the thing. But I'm just saying,
Yeah,
like, if
it's a traceable path, yeah.
right, but if the value is changing frequently, it's like, oh, if you didn't get that money when it was at 100, now it's at like 50. But then if you would wait, it could be 150. Like this.
Yeah, I know.
It's a risk reward.
It's a big risk, and I think it's probably the biggest risk involved in this. But I think at the same time, you have to remember that you're comparing this to streaming payouts.
Yeah, which they keep dropping anyways, and
all you've got to
not
be
even get paid.
Streaming payouts.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm not trying to trash on this by any means. It's a very interesting. It's a very interesting. I don't want to say thought experiment. I mean, it's a very interesting model that they're coming up with and trying to bring in. I'm just looking at it critically because I want to make sure, think about it analytically and critically, but it is promising, or at least that, I mean, it's what we've talked about before with this, like, you get based on listens, you get paid based on listens rather than.
The funny thing is, it's not a new model. I've known of this being done, I don't know, 4 years ago or something. I can't remember what the service was called, but it was a radio station. They paid listeners in some form of
was
crypto.
that like Audius or something? Wasn't there that one?
No, it's before Audius even.
Oh, okay.
I forget what they were called, but yeah, people used to put their music on that. It was pitched as like a radio station, but in a similar way to this, the longer you were listening, the more you got paid. And if your stuff got played on there, you got paid. And it was all crypto based. And at the time, the downside of it seemed to be just the whole crypto side of it made it very niche. Or at least I never got really involved in it for that reason, that it did seem quite limited in numbers.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's moved on a huge amount from then till now. I still think it's relatively niche, and the fact that you have to start getting into crypto, some people are a bit, I don't know, are really turned off by that word.
I wonder if the pull here is also they've got a large artist that's supposedly moving.
Well, yeah, don't get me wrong. I mean, I think irrespective of my attitude towards it and how much I'd want to be involved, I want them to succeed.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying you're not. I'm just saying I wonder too, like what you're saying with there was not a lot of people listening and stuff. I suppose the idea is this is a big artist that's going to be exclusive on there. That may move users over,
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm deeply, deeply ambivalent about this. There's a part of me that is kind of like, oh, I don't know about that. But there's another part of me that says, right, it's decentralized, which is perfect. The whole problem of this sort of streaming nonsense is all centralized. Everything's got to go in a big data center, and then you sell access to it. It doesn't scale well. And it was what's it, Blitz funded, I don't know, it's just this model that they're using now. You just grow as big as you can, as quick as you can,
with like angel investment, right?
And then you try and find a business model that works. And that's what all the streaming platforms did, and now they're trying to find a business model, and it's not necessarily very easy. So it seems a lot more viable in the sense that it is decentralized. It also seems to put the power back in, individuals' hands, and it seems to honor the relationship between listener and an artist, and all the finances are traceable. I mean, it sounds perfect until you start getting into the side of it.
If nothing else,
if
nothing else, I think seeing an option like this come to fruition, or at least posed as coming to fruition and things like that, if we can see more options that are more in this vein, that's good. The more we see of competition that's coming at Spotify that's viable with like a massive artist going behind it and stuff, if nothing else, if it moves people away from those, and maybe those companies will start thinking about, I mean, God, I don't want to even put this into, but they might start thinking about doing moves in this way or something. But or just other companies will come with newer models that are even more clear, easy to understand, or something like that. Or it not in the blockchain, but they have some sort of traceability or something like that. Just like it's good to see this option.
Yeah, looking at needs beyond just make money. I mean, obviously, make money is important, but if you have a product that fulfills a need that a lot of people have and it does it well, then the make money thing hopefully is an automatic result rather than your prime requisite and only focus.
No, it's fair. I think I with that kind of restructuring idea, so to speak, I think what's also important is Snoop Dogg is very mainstream. He's done quite well for himself. I think it's fair to say.
He needs an accountant to tell him how much money he's got.
Right now, as over the last kind of 18 months, as we've been more critical in our circles of streaming services, the blowback has always been the idea that we are, some sort of butthurt indie muso that's not very good, and therefore not, there are plenty of people who make money on Spotify, and just because you don't, that you're looking for an alternative, yada yada. That's kind of that is some of the criticisms or some of the messages that I have received in response to our lamenting over Spotify. But Snoop Dogg is pretty mainstream. He's pretty successful, and he's coming out and saying that this is a problem. This is an issue. The way that musicians are being treated or exploited by these businesses is not right. And even if this Tune FM isn't going to go anywhere and it stays in its little crypto bubble, what is really compelling and nice to see is that you've got, don't sit on that. You've got someone coming out who's pretty influential, pretty well known in the world, who's done successful things on Spotify relatively, and he's coming out and saying this is wrong. And I think that's good. The narrative is coming through.
Bring awareness to the Spotify issue beyond this. Curtis, is there anything else on this? We've got like 15 minutes left. You want to cover, or should we? I want to read a couple things from the chat before we move over. But is there anything else?
Sorry, just that you're not paid per stream. You're paid by seconds.
Oh, interesting.
So if you are, So without going into the math, you are paid a 3-minute song, for example, would be 180 jam tokens, right? For example. So
this is fascinating because Spotify for so long has pushed music to be shorter and shorter, so you can get more songs out, put more songs on an album, right? But also for playlists, like just make more songs frequently by doing like 1 minute, 2 minute songs or whatever. This is now the alternative. Interesting. Anything else? I want to read two chats or one chat. Just the last thing on this topic. Smiling Hair says, "I wish I could take my cynic hat off, but isn't Spotify hate the perfect environment to pull a crypto scam off?" A couple things. One, we are not by any means saying go do this. We're just bringing this to the table that I think more to the point of transparency in the sense that something's coming out that's a different model than the streaming model that we've been lamenting about, as Curtis put it. But also how outside of musicians who put music on Spotify, how well-known or commonplace is Spotify hate? Because I would feel like for consumers, Spotify is great, right? You pay 10 or $15. Like I was just saying, you pay $15 and now you've got unlimited music. So I get what you're saying, Smiling Airs, and I'm not diminishing it. And I think it, like Eon Lake says in the chat, it pays to be critical. But this could totally be something, I don't know. But it's promising, and seeing this sort of idea come out and then being backed by someone of large fame, whatever you want to call it,
some clout.
That's got clout. That's been talking about the issues we've been talking about with streaming itself. I think this is interesting news to bring to the table. So
and also given all
it.
the times that we've been saying that, you know, this is changing, it feels like it's already changing.
Mhm.
You know, that it was a bit of a bait and switch in the first place, that in the sense of what you get paid from everyone has gone down over the years from when streaming started. So
Yeah.
you don't earn anything like what you used to. It's starting to be a problem. It's in the press a lot about professional musicians who are touring and making no money and aren't able to live and having to do all sorts of things, from OnlyFans to God knows what else, just to supplement incomes. The fact that, you know, it's not a viable profession anymore. It's harming the arts. And then it feels like something new's coming along, and then something, lo and behold, something new does come along. And this won't be the last thing, but, you know, I think it's in our future to be looking at options like this and figuring out what is worth it. What do we want to get involved with? Because it's going to keep changing, and there'll be a lot to take in, I think, as it does.
No, you're right. I mean, it's like we've talked about previously in other episodes. You know, we have this trajectory of change in the music industry. I mean, vinyl, cassettes, CDs, Napster, then iTunes, streaming. It's not going to be streaming forever. Something comes to take its place. So something like this could be it. Who knows? Like you've said, Curtis, you know, if blockchain and all that type of stuff that they've been saying is the future becomes the actual present and commonplace, then something like this probably would.
Yeah, completely. I think time will tell. It's good to see that these new options are coming out. Viability is obviously something, and the workability is different. There are ways in which crypto is trying to be more streamlined, but again, we're not a crypto channel, so we won't talk about that. You know, it remains to be seen. It's nice to have a bit of hope.
That could be your other YouTube channel. Curtis Goes Crypto. There you go. You can use that name for free. Curtis Goes Crypto. All right. Well, moving on from there, this show is brought to you by our patrons who each week help support us and keep the lights on, so to speak, of the show. If you want to become a part of the show, come on the show, express your opinions, but also have additional things like hangouts, patron channels on our Discord, and sample packs. We've got a new sample pack coming. I got to send Curtis some samples soon of the drum set, some one shots and stuff. But head to patreon.com/audionautic. The link is in the description. It'd be great to have you over there. It is the best way to help support the channel. We don't do sponsorships. We don't do ads. We don't do anything like that. So if you want to keep tuning in and help us, then that's the best way to do it. We've also got a new challenge going on over on our Discord, and I'm going to keep talking until Curtis finishes drinking so he can talk about the challenge. Look, he's done. See, I was just filling time. Go ahead. Tell us about this challenge going on.
So right now, we've got the stems from Lingering Light, the lead single of Sunwarper's EP Through the Quiet Dark, up on our Discord. You are encouraged to download those stems and to flip it into something in a remix. I've seen a couple of the names who have requested access, and I'm excited. And everyone seems to be really excited about it. So yeah, if you want to get in, have some lighthearted fun where you can just try something new. Maybe you got a bit of beat block. Maybe you're just looking for a new challenge or anything like that. Come and download some of these stems and just play around. You know, we got a long time with them. I think it's the first Wednesday of April is our listening party, which is an hour before the show on that day at 6 p.m. UTC. We're even giving away a $10 Tom Allen gift card for the winner that it will be voted for in that listening party. It's a challenge, bit of fun, try something new. And it's a really good time to sit down with like-minded people and just see what you create.
Yeah, I want to go Paul Stretch. That's my plan. That's my plan. And then release it as like Lingering Light parentheses last light.
Yeah. Like the sound of that.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Get on all the ambient playlists, man. No.
There you go. Sorted. Easy ambient in that one. Easy ambient. Our last little bit of the community corner is the fact that Starstream, our Starstream for March, will be on the 23rd, Sunday 23rd at 7 p.m. UTC. Same time as this show, just on a Sunday. Starstream is our monthly hangout with all our patrons. So if you are a patron, you want to go and make a pledge instantly, come sit down with a hangout for an hour or so ish. We're very fluid. We're not very particular with these things. And we just sit and we had just have a chat as a community off air, and where we just sit and help each other out, which is really nice, and see where
we don't
everyone's
even
at
have
in
a
the journey.
countdown to start the show, so we
did, and then I just didn't use it.
Yeah, there we go.
It's a bit like the chat, but a lot quicker when you don't have to type in. You can just talk to people.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good point, Eon. Like, exactly. It is like that. We just have a hangout. We talk about all kinds of stuff. Usually Ableton gets brought up because of some of the Ableton users here, or Ableton prophets, I should say. Preachers of Ableton. That'd be a good band name.
Yeah.
A super collab between Curtis, Eon Lake, and Mike. Preachers of Ableton.
There's all the people who want to talk about Ableton because they use Ableton, and we want to tackle some stuff. And then there's the people who want to talk about Ableton just to wind Sunwarper up.
I don't care. It's all good either way.
And then there are other people
who want to talk about gear, the good people.
It's a really good opportunity to check in with people who don't necessarily or can't make it to the live show, and to watch other people's journeys more up close. Like Hydrofighter is always a good example here, who has just gone 180. The 360 wouldn't work.
Going 180 right back to the Ableton if he went 360. Oh no, did Curtis drop? I think we lost him. What he was gonna say though, until he comes back, is how he's gone completely DAWless, Hydrofighter, and it's been really interesting on Starscream being able to talk with them each month about how I gotta remove that picture of Curtis. Black screen now. How he kind of hearing his process of what got him there and what took him to that place. It was really interesting of how, Hydrofighter used to come on and he would talk about, he came on one of our earlier iterations of Audionautic with Lightspeed and broke down his whole Ableton template file where he had all these different things going on in the template. And then now he's like 5 pieces of gear and a ton of effects pedals or something. So it's really cool to hear how he made this massive change, what caused him to make that massive change, and then why he bought specific gear with that in mind.
I wish I'd heard some of that actually. If he's on,
I think you were out a couple times. Yeah. Eon Lake is typically there, but sometimes life gets in the way, as it does for all of us. But I think with that, we're gonna move over to our last topic real quick, a round robin. I brought this one, so I made a video a couple of weeks ago about 5 things the SP404 still needs, right? And I got several comments, which I thought were really interesting, about basically saying like hardware should be what it is when the creator made it and intended, like whatever they intended to make with what they could make at the time. Does that make sense, Eon Lake?
Yeah, I'm
not saying what they're saying is right. I'm saying does what I'm saying make sense?
I think it means that they're saying, that if there are any constraints, they balance all the needs and their vision as best they can. They make a thing, and then that is what it is.
That's it, right? Yeah, exactly.
Because it's a cat, or whatever.
Exactly. Yeah. Whereas what I was saying in the video is that, hey, they've made all these updates. They've added really cool things, but they could add this, this, and this to be perfect, right? And so it got me thinking, like, should hardware evolve with software updates, which is something we're seeing a lot lately, or stay true to its original vision? And then the thing that might kind of counter to what these comments were saying is that that's a very non-consumer friendly move, right? Because then any update that would be made would have to be a new piece of hardware that you'd have to drop $400, $500, $600, $700 on. Whereas these software updates are typically just free for the one piece of gear that you bought before. So I just wanted to bring this to the table. Hear your thoughts, Eon Lake, as our wise. I don't know where to end that sentence. I saw you get a little
old owl, will you?
Yeah, I wasn't gonna go there, but I just wanted to throw it to you, and I did want to hear from Curtis, but I'm assuming his internet went out again. So
yeah, it's
what do you think?
One. I think really, given that you started with the SP404 as a reason for saying this, you're like, what do you want, man? It's got loads in it. Come on. You're being too fussy. You want everything.
But what they've added has been amazing, though.
Moon on a stick, I
mean, we wouldn't have had a step sequencer. No. The TR Rec mode was added.
It's true. I mean, it highlights the way that things have moved on. So back in the day when, a piece of hardware was like an analog synth or something, The only changes that you're going to get to that is if you start soldering new, bits onto the boards and so on. You'd have to make physical changes to it. Whereas now, because it's a balance of hardware and software and it's all programmable, there's a lot more that can be done with a software update and a bit more software development. And so there are two disciplines coming together, the hardware manufacturing and revision. And sometimes they do maybe change something if they've got a piece that's weak, or, that there's not enough headroom in an amplifier circuit or something like that. They might make a tweak. But really, the hardware tends to stay the same. But the whole attitude with the way that software is developed in teams and there's like constant iterative process is it does enable you to do things that allow you to add enhancements to the extent that, and it's slightly an answer to your point, sometimes that's the intention. I mean, there's often a real rush to market, and there are certain manufacturers who I've definitely heard it said in a lot of places that the code that comes out on the equipment is just starter. It will get updated. Yeah, and you're essentially beta testing their code as an early adopter, and it's kind of understood amongst fans of that particular vendor that that's how it is. So I don't know. I think, like in all things, there's a balance. I think, within the realms of what they're trying to deliver, and I don't know, with some bits of hardware, it's more obvious than others what their reason for being is, and what you would expect it to be able to accomplish, and so on. And I don't know. I mean, I think it means less when it's nice to haves and it just improves workflow or whatever. But if it changes the nature of something and maybe eats into other products that you're developing, maybe you don't want to do that. But I don't get the impression that it's regularly a problem, that you're going to enhance a certain device so much with software updates that you wouldn't buy another device. I think, they still are clever enough to direct them towards certain needs, so that, if you need, an FM synth or something like that, you're still going to have to go and buy something else. It just gives you flexibility and the best product they can. I'm kind of for it. I've benefited a lot in the past with the Microfreak and the SP404 particularly, but with other things as well, where the updates have actually been, game changers from a sense of the sounds that can be produced, but also additional types of workflow. It's really helpful, and I'm quite for it. I think it definitely benefits the consumer, and it definitely makes me feel much more kindly disposed to that particular manufacturer, much more inclined to buy their stuff in future, if that's how they do things. And that, I don't think that can be bad for business ultimately.
No, I don't think so. And one thing I want to bring up too, though, is even with hardware that like can't get software updates, right? If you don't try to improve, if you get in the mindset of, well, this was the instrument as it was designed, why does it need to change? So we'd have an acoustic guitar, right? We'd never get an electric. No one would slap a pickup on that and go, oh, I can change this, right? And we can then get innovation. So for me, I feel like that mindset also stifles innovation, even in the hardware realm. And then on top of that, adding things through software can then give ideas for what to do when you have more power in your next iteration of hardware, right? Like in the SP Mark III, it's like, oh, well, we were able to do this, this, and this, but what we couldn't do was this. But with this added amount of power or RAM or whatever have you, we can do that now. So that's it. I think Curtis is back. I'm going to see. Curtis, are you there or are you frozen again? Yeah, he's waving. So I'm going to bring you back in. Curtis, you got any thoughts on this? I know we're at 12, so we can call it a day soon. But
we'll be quick. Definitely should have updates. Should definitely evolve. It's technology at the end of the day, and technology is built to evolve. And I wouldn't want to have a piece. I wouldn't want to have a piece of hardware that didn't live up to its full potential, especially in the case of many people are forking out a lot of money to buy the hardware that they want to buy. I think it would be doing the consumer a disservice if there wasn't the ability to upgrade and evolve the situation.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Sure.
I mean, I think software updates are awesome, right? Like we get really cool new things on hardware. And I think that's like the Digitact. You wouldn't have the warp mode, the slice mode, all that stuff was added, you know, and they've added a ton. And then, of course, now they've got a Mark II or Digitact 2, but it's like the one was and still is an amazing piece of gear 8-9 years later, however long it's been.
Yeah.
And you can still use that one, but people are buying the 2 because they added, because of what they were able to do with those updates. They go, oh, okay, well, now we can do stereo sampling. We can have larger sample time. We can do all this stuff with more power that we put in this too. So I think it's really cool to have it both, you know, and I don't see why we can't. It's like you were saying, I don't think it's cannibalizing what comes after because you have these more powerful pieces of hardware.
Informs it. I mean, if you're revising code that regularly, you're going to start writing things that are more effective, that run better on small resources, so that when your next platform comes out, you're able to do more on it because your code's more efficient because you're constantly developing it. And again, I don't see how that's a bad thing particularly. I mean, I don't see the need to actually change the nature of a device. If you brought out like a Groovebox sampler or drum machine or something, it's like, right, hey, we've added a synth to it. That would be a bit odd. But I don't think anyone's ever done that. And, you know, the example you give is with Electron's a good one in the sense that they always had a roadmap for the Digitact. They knew that they were going to add things to it. And I think they said that when they first revealed it. I think that is how people work generally these days anyway.
Yeah. All right. Well, Curtis, anything else? I know you were dealing with internet for a minute. Otherwise, I think we can call it a day.
No, let's wrap it. My brain, because of the technological difficulties over here, my brain is somewhere else. So I would just like to say thank you for everyone for turning up and for giving us your ideas.
Yeah. Yeah. And we will be back next week, 11 a.m. Pacific, as always. And Starstream's coming up, what, next Sunday, Curtis?
23rd. Oh,
yeah,
Starstream. Yeah, 23rd.
Yeah, Starstream.
It's a few yet.
Okay, we got a couple more to go, but if you want to get the patron chats and all that type of stuff, or just help support the show, patreon.com/audionautic. With that, I think we'll call it a day. Curtis, anything left to say?
No, myself.
But then you had something else to say. See,
you were signing off.
Get yourself beyond like anything you want to add.
Just thank you and goodbye.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's a perfect way to end. All right. We'll see you next week. Thanks for watching.